Hey, it's Amy from Create Magic at Work, and welcome to the Magic Formula. I've teamed up with John Nieters from TestRxMD to bring you exactly what you've been asking for. I'm so excited to introduce you to this special series that takes you on a deep dive into experiencing life fulfillment and magical peak experiences through the lens of quantum leadership and spiritual intelligence. In this series, we'll explore powerful practices to help you embrace your full spiritual self as a leader and harness your energy for peak performance. People everywhere are seeking these magical moments that elevate their lives and work, and we're committed to delivering just that. Trust me, this series will not disappoint. So come with me and let's dive into the Magic Formula. Hey everyone, it's Amy here from Create Magic at Work, and welcome to the Magic Formula. Yes, you are listening to the Magic Formula with my friend, John Nieters. Let me tell you a little bit about John Nieters. He is an entrepreneur and recovery advocate with a degree from IU's Kelley School of Business. John dives deep into AI's transformative role in health and wellness, delivering practical wisdom on overcoming adversity and thriving. He taps into a rich background in business and wellness, offering fresh perspectives fueled by insights from artificial intelligence. As a member of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, I already love that part, John leverages his expertise to explore how AI can enhance wellness and recovery strategies, positioning himself at the forefront of merging technology with health practices. So I just read John's bio, but let me tell you a little bit more about John. He and I have come together and partnered on bringing the Magic Formula to all of the Create Magic at Work listeners. What is that, you ask? Well, John is from TestRxMD, and he is deeply passionate about bringing spirituality into the workplace, just like I am. In fact, John, I heard you say one time that it really resonated with me. When I was talking about how in my past job, I was corporate Amy at work, and then I was spiritual Amy at home, you kind of, I think we were in a Zoom together or something, and you unmuted and you said, oh, well, you were leaving part of your energy behind of like who you really are. And I was like, gosh, that makes so much sense. And there's so much talk right now on LinkedIn and in the workplace about how can we let everybody allow for everyone to be their full, authentic selves in the workplace. And if we're leaving part of who we are at home, that's never going to happen. So John is here to bring this special partnership series to everyone called the Magic Formula. John, welcome to the Magic Formula, your special series. Thanks for letting me introduce you to all of the Create Magic at Work community.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction from a beautiful soul. We've definitely already collaborated on a lot of things and really seem to resonate on so many different items. It's pretty incredible. I'm glad to be able to add some value here and share any insights that I may have on a various number of topics, which I know that we've discussed how we want to do a lot of engaging things with the audience. So we're definitely always going to be open to asking you guys, what are you currently dealing with? What are some issues going on? And no matter how targeted or how vague you want to be, that's fine. We're going to do a deep dive on anything that any of you guys are having issues with. So we welcome it.
Love it. Yeah. So one of my big goals with bringing magical peak experiences to the Create Magic at Work community is really exactly what John just said, really hearing from everyone and using John as a resource for what you're going through. Before we really dive into the Magic Formula and what that's going to look like for everyone listening for the next, few months, can you share, John, a little bit about your background and kind of what led you to explore the intersection of spirituality and leadership with all of these amazing leaders that are listening?
So I've had a pretty wild life. As you guys get to know me more and more, obviously more and more details will come available. But I started out playing tennis at a very, very high level, trained at a tennis academy down in Boca Raton, Florida, Everett Tennis Academy, if anyone is aware of that. It's an awesome little spot. So was very high performing when I was young. Tennis was my life. Literally did everything in life to try to be better at tennis. It was pretty incredible. Then I ended up tearing my labrum. I was going to play at IU and honestly was in the pursuit of a very engaging and fulfilling professional career. But tearing your labrum up in your shoulder, especially when serving is a pretty big part of the game, is pretty tough to get over. So I ended up taking definitely a right turn in college, and I got into a motorcycle wreck. My parents are both physicians. I didn't really want to tell them that I got into the wreck. I didn't want to hear them say, well, we told you shouldn't have this motorcycle. So went to another physician, basically prescribed opiates, way over prescribed. I was like deathly ill the first time I took them and got addicted. And basically one thing led to another. I had some money, but buying things on the street after your physician gets run out by the DEA comes pretty non-sustainable is probably the right way to say that. And so then you either get into dealing or stealing. I'm not one to steal. I have more of a business mind. So I started dealing. It blew up. It got pretty large and the DEA ended up taking me down. I've done 5 years in prison because of that. While I was in prison, I read, thousands of books, I'm sure. And I really tried to figure out the meaning of life and figure out, okay, so this is essentially in my life, I was using prison as kind of like a timeout, like a reset. I clearly was not doing something that society agreed with. So let's figure it out. And I really wanted to get to the heart of the issue and figure out what the basis of life was. And then starting to understand resonance and everything that goes along with resonance and frequency and all of these various topics, which I'm sure we'll get into on this show. I really put together pretty comprehensive knowledge. And honestly, the knowledge never stops. So it's always an evolution. And every single day you're waking up to try to accrue more knowledge and try to make better and better decisions based upon that knowledge. And then basically after getting out, I taught myself the stock market, got into derivatives, saved up every penny I could, made a very large sum of money pretty quickly, and then started multiple businesses there, started medical clinics so that I could get into more of like the healing, which is more of my calling. My mom is definitely a very spiritually gifted healer herself, and I think I get a lot of that from her, which I absolutely love. But one thing led to another, and it basically gets into how do you heal all of the bullshit really that people deal with on a day-to-day basis that society basically sets you up to fail. And it's sad but true. But we get outside of traditional Western medicine practices to really truly heal people instead of just, hey, here's a pill. Go figure it out. And here we are.
And that's with TestRxMD for everyone listening. I want to just take a moment and acknowledge you and your vulnerability for sharing your story with everyone. Yeah, I think it's really commendable. And one of the key, I shouldn't be ranking this, but like the Capricorn in me is ranking this. One of the key high levels of spiritual intelligence is the belief. Can we hold the belief that someone can radically change for the greater good? And there's light and shadow in all of us. And I can really identify with kind of going down that shadow path and having the universe kind of scream at you and say, excuse me. Well, first it taps, right? And then you say, who's tapping me? Leave me alone. And then it whispers, you better stop going down this path. And then you're just like, what is this gnat flying around whispering at me with these things that keep happening? Whatever, I'm going to keep going. And then it screams. And I definitely identify with being somebody that has to wait till the universe screams to get the message. And I completely can relate to that spiritual awakening coming from that, which I feel like you're saying you had when you were doing all of that studying while you were in prison. And the gift in that, I think, is a remarkable thing to recognize. So thank you for sharing that. I really wanted to highlight that. Now that you have all of this knowledge, which you and I, we know each other and we're getting to know each other even more. But now that you have all this knowledge and you're going to share the magic formula with everyone listening, why would a leader in the workplace want to listen to this? Why would somebody want to even be like, I don't want to, like, I just need to hit my numbers, or I just need to go to work and come home and pay my bills. Like, what's this magic formula stuff?
Well, the very large aspect of that is going to be fulfillment, right? So that's the obvious low-hanging fruit in that question that you just answered. But I mean, another aspect of this is going to be able to, we talked about or touched on resonance earlier. So every person has their own resonance, right? You want to be that person, especially as leaders, you want to be that person that walks into a room and you light that room up. And when you light that room up, everyone will gravitate towards you. All of a sudden, all of these opportunities are going to come out of nowhere. I mean, I recently had a pretty insane situation that just happened to me that we talked about before hopping on this recording. But that's what you should want to embody everywhere you go, because then opportunities just come at you from every angle, and then you just pick and choose what fits your drive or your motivations, right?
Incredible. Yeah. When you speak about this resonance, it reminded me of this data point that we learn in the spiritual intelligence coaching community, that the energy that you operate from ripples out to your team 10 times over, especially if you are in a perceived position of power. And so if you are operating from a space of anger, fear, apathy, imagine that energy, or what you call perhaps resonance, is rippling out to your team 10 times more than whatever you're putting out. And so imagine if you can operate from this higher self and how that can ripple out, or this energy of generativity, I guess, or even higher than that, right? So I'm really curious about this journey that we're going to go on for the next few months with you. I also want to hear from you. What if somebody has had peak experiences that's listening? I mean, a lot of people that listen to Create Magic at Work are really into spiritual intelligence and spirituality, and bringing their whole selves to work, bringing spirituality to the workplace, putting their ego aside, all the things. And maybe they are on this path where they haven't had a peak experience in a while, and they don't feel like they're resonating at this high level they used to. What would you say to someone in that space?
Well, first of all, I want to touch on something that you said earlier with the energy. Whatever you bring, especially as a leader, whatever you bring to the workplace is going to be 10 times over. I kind of equate that to like dropping a pebble in a pond, right? How far do those ripples go? And obviously you're going to think, okay, the edge of the pond, right? But that's not necessarily true, because if there's something in the pond, you're going to have reverberation. So they're actually going to bounce back, right? And they're going to have interference patterns. So there's a lot going on there. But it does affect not just employees, but then what about when you have somebody from an outside company trying to make a deal with you that has to come into that environment, right? That energy is going to affect them too. So it literally affects every facet of your business. So I love that aspect. Anyways, and I had to get that out of me.
So good. What a good call out. Yeah.
And then back to, I guess, the question at hand. So if you feel like you're kind of like in a rut, I mean, everybody's heard of the law of attraction by now, or, the book, The Secret, and all that kind of stuff. Just understand that the fundamental basis of life is resonance. So whatever you are putting out into the world, it will always come back to you magnified. And if you feel like you're in a rut, well, maybe it's because you're not looking hard enough, or you're not seeing the opportunities in every possible thing. And you're potentially, I mean, most people do this. It's a very hard skill to not attach emotion to things that happen in your life. But the ideal way that you want to be able to operate is almost like in a detached mode. So that if things initially that could be, let's just go down the rabbit hole of the bad side first, where you would perceive something as negative. Well, no, maybe that's just the universe correcting your path. Or maybe that's opening up another energy channel so that you can then have an even better experience for you down the road. And so that's why it's so important to always be present, right? You don't want to be in your head and saying, oh, well, I got this deadline that's coming up next week, or, whatever it may be, everybody's got their own thing, a week out, month out. No, you want to be here right now, because then you're going to be opening up your energy channels to what's in front of you and what you actually are able to control. The things that are going to happen in the future, or the things that have happened in the past, can you control those? Probably not. At least not in the immediate time frame that we're talking about here, especially the stuff in the past, obviously. So if you're able to be present, and then you're able to remove the emotional component and actually, as you were saying, operate as your highest self, which sees the entire game board, right? Not just what you perceive from your three-dimensional self, but they can see the entire game board, that you, in ways that you couldn't even possibly begin to perceive, and say, oh, well, this looks negative, I give up, whatever, right? We've all been there. So instead, if you know your goals, and you know your intentions are pure, and you have an end result in mind, now all you have to do is seize all of the opportunities that the universe throws your way to align with your goals. It's very simple. And, there's going to be an obvious path where things are super easy to spot, right? But there are other experiences or opportunities that are going to get thrown your way that maybe you don't initially see any sort of connection, or how is that going to really help me? Maybe I don't want to do this or that. Well, really, you almost need to just become a yes man when opportunities present themselves, because at the end of the day, they're going to open up new experiences and give you more knowledge. And then maybe you start to see how this could potentially affect whatever your end result or your goal is, whether it's seemingly small in the beginning, but hey, maybe that's something that can snowball. And I've personally done it myself. So I personally have gone through experiences where I'm just like, what the hell does this have to do with anything that I'm trying to do? And then magically in a month or something like that, I've got all these other maybe connections, networking opportunities, or just knowledge that can lead into a snowball effect into your goals. It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, I think Dr. Judy Neal said once in our Edgewalker, God makes no mistakes. So just having faith in that. I want to ask you something. I have all these curiosities. This resonance, explain that for somebody that hasn't heard of that before. Resonance, what does that mean? The energetic frequency we're operating from, right? The second part of the question is, I tend to see if somebody doesn't feel like they're resonating at a high level, or if they don't feel like they're in this space of attracting abundance, if they feel like maybe they're going through that tower moment, the lightning strikes the tower moment of their life, where everything crumbles to the ground and it rains and we're rebuilding. I often see a lot of lack of self-compassion, and then I also see self-blame, that automatic negative self-talk. Well, now I feel bad about myself because I'm not attracting abundance, or I'm not attracting these things like John is, or what's wrong with me? And then there's this loop that some people can get in where it's this beating ourselves up moment too. So would you mind commenting on those two aspects?
So let me attack the second part of that first, because it's a little bit easier. So the first thing you have to know is, as you said, God makes no mistakes, right? The universe is perfect. You are perfect. You just have to know that you are perfect. You don't have faith that things are going to work out. You know they're going to work out. There's a big difference there. So the knowing part is very important. There's no doubt. There's no, faith has like some hidden quality where like you're just trusting, right? It's not even the trust aspect. Like this is what it is. And when you have that mindset, it's seemingly small, but at the end of the day, when you know something, that then is a lot of times natural law, like, unless you're in your own head and you're being egotistical and all that. But when you understand that things will always work out for you, no matter what, they may feel incredibly bad in the near term, but at the end of the day, is your whole entire life going to be dictated about something that's potentially happening in the near term that can maybe affect you for what, a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. I mean, whatever that time frame is based upon whatever event you're talking about, that is not you. That does not encompass who you are. You dictate who you are by the things that you do on a day-to-day basis and what your behavior is. And so the big thing there that you need to do is detach emotion from behavior. So you're always able to have feelings and emotions. Of course, we've talked about detaching, but you're going to have feelings and emotions. That's natural. You're human. Now, that's natural. The part that you're going to be dinged on, or the part that you're going to be responsible for, is your behavior at all times, right? So knowing that, why would you not then adjust the mindset slightly and understand that all is good? Everything is good, because it either realigns you with your natural energy grid, which basically when you come into this world, you come from that extra dimension that we can call it the spirit realm, or there's many different names, but you have a purpose in life. You came here for a reason. So when you figure that reason out, that is called your God grid. And when you deviate from that God grid, that's where the universe tries to correct you. Like you were saying earlier, it gives you a whisper or a tap on the shoulder, or it just smacks you in the face, right? And trust me, I've been smacked in the face many times, and it's not fun. So understanding that, who wants to get smacked in the face? Just trust and understand that you are perfect, and every aspect of you is perfect, and everyone is either a god or a goddess in their own right, because you are a creator. Your actions dictate what you create. So when you get up every morning and you go to work and, do all the various activities that you do, that's energy. You're one big energy machine of potential energy. And every day that you go and do tasks or items that further you toward your goals, you're now creating that goal. And you will always make it to that end result as long as you stay that path and you stay on the same goal, right? So understanding that you're just balls of potential energy, that gives you a lot of power. And that's why every person is a god or a goddess, because now you have the ability to either give something energy or not. So when you have, everybody's experienced when a person comes into the room, and let's just call them negative Nelly, right? The whole world is ending. Like, you know how it is. Everybody's experienced this, right? They literally are so polar in that effect that they bring the entire resonance of the room down. And it's sad, because then people start gossiping. People start talking about negative this, negative that. But now, what if you were the embodiment of the inverse of that? So when you walk in that room, you light it up and you bring everyone up with you. And yeah, that takes some time. It takes some inner work, and it takes some deep diving into energy and, all these things, but it's worth it, because then you're on the road to Christ level consciousness, which I truly believe is what the Bible is all about anyways. I think that it's been perverted and it's been used to control and all sorts of stuff. And it talks about, I've done crazy religion deep dives in prison. And basically what it comes down to is all religion comes from the same place. It all comes from the Emerald Tablets, which was basically the embodiment of Thoth. He wrote that. And that's why all religions essentially say very similar things, because they all come from the same place. And then when you understand that they're all trying to tell you that esoteric versus exoteric. So whether you're putting a deity above you to control, or you're looking within to empower, it's much different. And so it gives you the ability to then, I know this isn't a religious channel or anything like that, but you have to understand the fundamental principles here of becoming that creator, and why I say every person is a god or a goddess, because you have the ability to create.
No, absolutely. The main themes of spiritual intelligence for the workplace is that all of the major religions have these sort of basic themes. And if you believe in a higher power, please bring your higher power with you that you can tap into. If you're atheist or agnostic, as long as you believe you have a place within you that comes from wisdom and compassion and love, please tap into that. It's definitely a faith neutral system for the workplace. But one thing that I want to ask you is, yes, we are these powerful beings that can practice our behavior, tapping into these energies, embodying, taking these steps to ultimately meet our goals. What do you say to someone that says, I am really trying to be this way, and every day I walk into a toxic workplace environment? Because you talked about how kind of like someone else can kind of walk in and kind of throw the energy off, right? And then everybody's gossiping and then everyone's doing this. I also, in a lot of the spiritual spaces, it's become quite more common for me to see people identifying with being empaths. Well, I'm an empath. I absorb all this, negative energy. I can feel the room. I can't be around these people. And to me, it's like, well, what are we doing all this work for? We should be able to step into these spaces and be present with others, even if their energy is a little off. How do we connect with each other? Thoughts on that?
There's a couple key words that you use there. So first of all, you said, I feel like I'm trying to be this person. Well, we just talked about you're not trying to do anything. You either are or you aren't. It's very simple. I mean, at the end of the day, it's very black and white. So you either
what if
are,
you feel like you aren't, or you can't tap in?
You need to go within. So instead of worrying about external circumstances or external energies or external people, you need to start meditating. You need to start going within and understanding who you really are. I've been down this path and I've dealt with the exact same thoughts and I've gone through it. So I understand it very well. It's not like, oh, I can't do this, or I can't attain what he's done, or, anything. Any person can do it. It's literally, it just takes the inner work. So you need to understand that every person has the ability to be anything that they want. Do you have the wherewithal to get there? Sometimes it takes knowledge, obviously, for certain. Everything takes some sort of knowledge. But at the end of the day, if you want to do something, you're going to do it. It doesn't matter what someone else tells you to do or not do. I mean, you're going to do it. So at the end of the day, outside influences should never affect your energy. So there's another little term that you can throw into this discussion. It's called transmuting energy. So if you have negative energy that happens in your presence, you transmute it and turn it back into something positive. So what happens when a negative Nelly throws some crazy negative sentence at you and you just flip it back on them with love? What do? Well, they're probably not going to be so negative anymore. They're going to sit there and understand how stupid they sound, right? When you flip it around on them like that, it completely changes the dynamic, because they're trying to throw, all this negativity at you, but you turn around and completely lift them up. They've never probably had that happen, because misery loves company. Every person wants to sit there and gossip or talk negative or whatever, right? So when they encounter someone like that, that's not normal to them in their perspective. So that's all life is perspective. So how you view life is much different than I view life, or the next person, right? Because that is shaped, your perspective is shaped by your experiences, and every person has gone through something different. So instead of being negative, you have to understand and embrace those experiences, lean into those, have those give you power, right? Because you've been through this or that. That helps you grow stronger. That gives you strength. How can you attain strength without setbacks? How are you able to be strong by just having something gifted to you, or to walk down a path that's so simple? You never get tested. The way you gain strength is because you are tested over and over. And then you just know that you are that embodiment.
So good. My friend Sandra Bargeron, she says that's where the juice is. And that's how stories are written. And we need to get on board that life isn't easy all the time. And I just love how you're so in line with Create Magic at Work. And I know, oh gosh, this is just going to be so great. So I want you to share with everybody, what can they expect from you in the coming months? What are you going to cover? We've covered so much already. And I think we've barely even chipped away at like a little bit of what's going to go on for everyone. So can you share with everyone what you'll be covering in the coming months? Just a few of the topics maybe?
Yeah, sure. So I've kind of put together the pillars of, let's just say, the ideal leader. And I've come up with 10 pillars. They start off with self-awareness and consciousness. If you're not aware of something, how can you change it? It's very simple, very black and white. Then spiritual alignment, resonance and frequency, which, as we've covered, is the basis for everything. And I'll go over certain items or devices or ways that you are able to overlay those frequencies into your own life to prime your own cells to vibrate at that frequency.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Which then opens up those energy channels for whatever you're actually trying to do, which is pretty beautiful. And I really do a lot of psychedelic medicine as well. And I love the ability with psychedelic medicine to then overlay frequencies onto that experience. To then, anytime you take a psychedelic, you're opening up your energy channels anyways. And now when you're wide open to overlay those frequencies, you can have a much more profound effect. And any person that's stuck and doesn't feel like they've had any sort of profound experience like that, we can definitely work out a situation where we'll put you there and we'll make sure you're gone, right, if you want to be. But we're going to make sure that's all empowerment and healing based.
John, can I pause you for a second? Because I don't want to interrupt your thought process here, but I got to say, because you've touched on resonance, frequency, and also psychedelics, right? And we're talking to leaders in the workplace. I just want to share, when we met, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and you reminded me, 888 is the frequency of, correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but it's the frequency of like manifesting abundance. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just forgot that. And I've been playing that in my home, these different YouTube videos that are resonating at the 888 frequency. And then I want to share with everyone listening today, we purposely chose today 88. It's 8/8/2024. So that adds up to 888. To record this special intro episode to the Magic Formula, the Magic Formula series. And unknowingly, I went home, and those of you that know me personally, I always will share with you what your number is of your name, what your root number is, what your root destiny number is of a name and what it means. And I went home and I did all the math with the Pythagorean system on the name of this beautiful series that we're bringing to all of you, of the Magic Formula. And the Magic Formula, I text John, I was like, oh my gosh, Magic Formula is 8. So the Magic Formula, the root destiny number of the Magic Formula, the name of this series is 8. We're recording it today on 8/8, the Lionsgate, 8/8/2024. And we really are intentional about putting this together for all of you to help you have these magical peak experiences. On the psychedelics topic, there are so many leaders in the workplace that I know that dabble in psychedelics to give their best full selves at work. So sometimes it sounds like it's a taboo topic because they're not talking about it in the boardroom. But I tell you what, there's a lot of cutting edge things that people are using that they're not talking about. And we're going to talk about them here in the Magic Formula. So I wanted to pause you to really hone in on that and amplify that. Any other highlights?
My destiny number, I believe, is 8 as well, which is hilarious.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. There you go.
It's really cool. Yeah. So another part with psychedelics too is like, you don't necessarily have to take psychedelics for some crazy, profound, like trippy experience. Like there's so many like ways you can microdose, like you like talk about psilocybin or whatever your route is, you can microdose those things. And basically the way that I easily break things down to you for like what you're doing when you're engaging in a psychedelic activity. So think of like a mountain or a ski resort. Let's just say a ski resort, right? And when you ski down that mountain, every time you go down a certain path or trail, let's just say, you're carving into the mountain more and more. Now, what this represents is your thought processes. So every time you try to solve problem A, B, C, whatever, you're used to thinking about it the same way, and you're doing it over and over and over. Think about how many times you make decisions. There's a ton, right? So you're reinforcing the way that you're thinking about things. So when you take a psychedelic, what you're essentially doing is think about dropping 12 feet of fresh powder on that mountain and then telling the person that's going down the mountain to get to the bottom. So what you're doing is you're erasing all of those old thought patterns so that your brain can now operate from a truly neutral standpoint to find the best possible solution. So it's pretty beautiful. Anyways.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to get into it in this series. So John is going to be hosting the Magic Formula for the next few months as a special sub-series on the Create Magic at Work podcast. Self-awareness and consciousness will be kicking off, spiritual alignment. We're going to get into life purpose and vision, a lot of high-level leadership skills to help you feel fulfilled in your work and life, service to others, continuous growth, how to have connection and community, how to have influence in your leadership. We talked a little bit about that earlier. When you talked about the person walking in the room, I was like, that's leadership presence. The person walking in the room with that high level of energetic resonance. It's not the sharp dressed man. It's the person that has that presence that emanates throughout the room that everyone can feels like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. So the point of this is John's going to get into these like deep dives for you where you can walk away feeling like you are elevating your energetic resonance is really like what I'm feeling from this kickoff episode. Anything else you want to add, John, what you hope listeners are going to take away from the series?
I think a big part of this is kind of looping this all back in with where we started. A lot of this is going to be based upon feedback from you guys. So, of course, everyone has their own separate issues, and we would love to hear from you and see what you're dealing with and then help you work through these issues. I'm sure that some other aspect of this can be scheduling time with Amy, or even I'll start a coaching business for all I like, we can figure something out there to give you guys time to actually go over your more individualized issues.
That would be so incredible to hear from everyone listening. Like, hey, I'm going through a problem. In fact, John's business is TestRxMD. Also, you can reach out to Connect at Create Magic at Work. If you want to say, hey, we want to hear you guys talk about this. We want to hear John talk about this. We read everything. We're very accessible. And I think it's just going to be a magical series. So I'm just tradition, I got to do this. We're going to pull a card for everyone listening. It's going to be the one to kick off the Magic Formula. Let's see what message we get here from the universe on 8/8/2024.
I'm as giddy about this series as you are, I think.
Oh my gosh. This is so cool. Okay, so we got confidence.
Ooh.
This is inspired by the Empress, the archetype of the Empress. And I'm so excited we got this today because the artwork of the Empress in the tarot is giving birth to something. And we literally are giving birth to this new series, the Magic Formula. And the affirmation on the card for John, for you, for me, and for everyone listening, no matter when they hear it, is I am proud of my unique gifts, and I am excited to share them with others. I mean, if that doesn't sum up what you're going to do for everybody on the Magic Formula, that's incredible. So, John, I'm going to ask you a final question for everyone listening. If somebody feels like this, oh my gosh, this is so cool because it's going back to the beginning of our talk when I was talking about hiding my spirituality from the workplace. So if somebody feels like they're hiding parts of themselves from the workplace, what is your micro step piece of advice to them listening?
Lean into that. You always want to lean into your shadow work. So that always brings issues to the forefront, and you'd be very, very surprised at how those can help you connect with others. Like even just the experience of just being vulnerable with others. You're creating that connection just energetically. It's a connection that you're creating because you're showing something that traditionally is not small talk, right? So you're showing that, and that's going to pique interest, and they're going to be like, oh, I've been there, or I know someone that's been there, or I've had thoughts about this, or I've struggled, whatever it may be. You're going to instantly draw someone closer to make a better connection, which then will allow you as leaders to leverage that connection later on down the road.
I love that. I just think you open the door to the path that's a path to connection, to vulnerability, to courage, to all of the things that will probably improve your energetic resonance, right? It's kind of been a theme as well.
Well, because you're not hiding.
Yeah.
That is the key. When you hide things to only show what you, or whatever mask you put on to show just that to the world, well, inherently you're not being your true self. So That's going to be one of the main things that kind of keeps you from achieving a higher resonance. So the embrace the things that you may possibly perceive as things that people don't want to hear or see, or that you want to hide or whatever, because that's going to draw you in closer. And human connection and love is the basis of what elevates resonance. So it's pretty easy to see.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing everything today. If people want to connect with you, of course, they need to listen to the Magic Formula going forward, right? This special series on Create Magic at Work that's going to air throughout the coming months. But if they're like, oh my gosh, I want to message John right now, how can they connect with you?
So you can always email me, john@TestRxMD.com. That's a pretty surefire way to get a hold of me. You can also get at me on Facebook or Instagram, but to be honest, email is probably going to be the easiest way that I'll be able to respond quickly, because my Facebook is just insane.
All right. Well, amazing. John, thank you for allowing me to sit in the host seat for this initial episode of the Magic Formula and introduce you to all of the Create Magic at Work listeners and the Create Magic at Work community. And for all of you listening, I hope you can really hear that we are bringing you something special for those that are seeking those magical moments that will elevate your life and your work. And I can't wait to hear what you all think as we move through this journey together. Thanks for bringing some magic to everyone today, John.
Awesome. Thank you guys for your time and listening as well. Thank you, Amy, for leading.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back every week to listen to a new episode of Create Magic at Work and really helping to support and advocate for healthy leaders, workplaces, and lives for all of us. If you want any information on how to connect with me, click on the link in the show notes. You'll get access to all of the social media links for Create Magic at Work. Stay following along for more amazing episodes where we help you improve productivity and profitability in the workplace and decrease stress. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.